There we go. Alright, greetings fam. It is Saturday School, Reparations Saturday School. This is session 11. Understanding the economic, this is part 2 of 2. I did part 1 last week. You need to listen to that. I did the pretty much discuss monetary policy, how it comes about, how it trickles down to us. So that's a good one. And this is part 2 of 2, understanding the economic collapse of our homes, communities, and society. So a lot of this is, it's just mindset and, using our brain, our computer brains that God gave us. So, I got to till the soil of the mind in order to be able to plant good seed. In order to be able to plant good seed. So that's what this is, a process. I'm just trying to work with you. We can work together. It's a simple formula. It's just based on unity. It's a simple formula based on unity and knowing the right information. So for this program, you're getting way more. Your cup will overflow. And a lot of things, none of the other cliches that we have in our society is tomorrow you get what you pay for. Listen, what you receive here is going to be far greater than any outgo. It's a two-way ministry. Education. You get education both ways. You get the material, your donation, monthly donation right now is $40 a month. Can't beat that anywhere. You're gonna you get your spiritual foundation, you get your therapy, right? So you can find your purpose. You get a quality education that nobody else is getting in finance, wealth literacy, and the creation, accumulation, and preservation of wealth. Then you have the support team, the business and legal department. And this is all the ingredients to take us out of the wilderness. You don't have to spend 5, 10, 15, 20 years, a lifetime trying to figure it out. See, that's what this is about. We didn't have this when I was growing up. So now this is a new thing. You need to sit back, we're trying to get the cobwebs from the eyes and stuff, from the brain, and clear up the brain so we can start thinking clearly about these things that's facing us in society today. See, we have the technology, and that's why it's so inexpensive. The technology will reach millions of people. So you have to like it, you got to share, you got to do what y'all do these days. Just like it, share, subscribe, get them numbers up so that way everybody gets to see this information. Right? Then this hocus pocus, get rich quick type stuff. It doesn't work like that. It's about foundation of your life. And now we into, and then living in a make-believe society. We got to wake up and live in reality. There's a certain way we talk about our spiritual foundation before we can build on anything. That's what we're spending time with. So now I'm going to the economic phase of it. But the course is the course. I'm not going to really, I highlight it and so forth, but you got to take the course. I'm not going to, teach you the course. You got to take the course, right? I'm trying to prepare you to do that so you can understand how important this is and what a great opportunity this is. And now we into the Easter season, another period of mysticism and hocus pocus and doing stuff that just doesn't make sense in our minds, but we do it anyway. See? So we have to be able to wake up from the nonsense. We have to be able to wake up from the nonsense. See? It doesn't really matter because we raised up on stories and so forth and fiction and make-believe. So when you see it and it's unbelievable, you've already been conditioned to accept unbelievable stuff. So you've been conditioned for that stuff because it's all around you. It's the airways, the television is just inundating you with it. So your mind doesn't get a relief from that, unless something comes and just totally shake you out of that. Okay, so let's get going here. And I hope everyone is doing well today. This is the Saturday before Easter. Saturday where you got Easter bunnies laying eggs so the kids can find them. Telling you telling you 3 days is actually 2 days. You know what I'm talking about. And oh yeah, and this Wednesday Bible study, we're going to deal with tithing. We're going to deal with the history of tithing. Okay? You know, we're going to have a different kind of format. And also in the future, I want to have, you know, regular people, lay people that's doing stuff with their life. We want to develop our IT department. You know, we have a Facebook family. Hopefully we can get some of them on here to discuss about it. And this is a program that this is no hateration. We want to invest in you. But the reason I deal with the program is because we when we get it, we don't want to lose it. We don't want to give it back. See, having $1 million and knowing what to do with it versus having $1 million, you choose. So we're going to take a short period of time, put a system in place so each generation is educated and prepared, and then we have an economic system built in to support them. That's what this is about. So this is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer, right? You know, forget that short-term scam stuff. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. I got an exciting message for you there. I printed out because I don't want to, like I do right now, rambling and going off on a tangent. So I write it down so I can stay focused on the discussion pretty much and add to it here and there. Right? Okay. Okay, where are we? Now this is the best value. This is the best value. Don't forget about that. You know, I was telling about a young lady, I was telling the program, she said, well, how much can I get a loan, take out a loan for the program? How much is the program? I said, you don't need no loan. You know, just a $40 a month. Before it was cheaper than that, I'm like $40 a month. She's like, wow, $40 a month. Then she like lost interest. I'm like, we in a mindset that we gotta be put into debt and be charged an arm and a leg for you to see the value of it. I want everybody to have this information. It's a giveaway. When you get the information, that's when we're going to start making money. See? But we use education as a funding mechanism to start the flow and the recycling education to take place. But the real economic boom is going to take place when we're on the same page and we learn how to work together. This program is teaching us how to work together in spiritual unity and oneness with a purpose. See, that's what the program is designed to do. Then once we start learning how to work together and thrive together, that's when it's going to crack off. Then the light bulb's going to go on. I'm just teaching you the basic stuff, the basic foundation, right? Your light bulb's going to come on, your talent, your purpose. See, then we can start, you know, evolving. All right, my friends. All right. So, understanding the economic collapse of our homes, communities, and society. In part one, we gained an understanding of how monetary policy works and how it is created by the banking system, which is based on trickle-down economic theory. Right? Piss on the poor monetary policy. They call that Reaganomics. See, a lot of y'all weren't born yet or just children. The poor are trapped in this system which represents most of society. Of course, within this percentage, some are better off than others, but this is not true wealth because it's based upon having a job or some type of government assistance. See, so I'm going down, reaching real low. Everybody's not at the bottom, right? But if you're not at the bottom, you need to have a consciousness to help somebody else. So I'm reaching down and scooping everybody up in the net, right? So you say, well, that's not me. Don't turn it off because it is about you. We all at different levels. And this program is designed to reach back. So when you reach back, you need to have an understanding of what you're reaching back to. Instead of casting judgment on your brothers and sisters. Oh, I did it. They can do it too. I pulled myself up. That's not the right attitude. That's not the right attitude. To whom much is given, much is required. There are basically three ways that money gets into our hands. It is either from working a job, a credit or loan, if you got some assets or some equity, or government benefits. Then there's the predatory scavenger grassroots economy, lawsuits, scams, tyranny, killing, stealing, and the destruction of others, which includes the institution of religion, marriage in some cases, right? Gang banging, and criminal enterprise. That's our cash flow within the economy. That's how we get money in the economy, right? Life is not easy and can be a struggle if you don't lend yourself a helping hand. So you got to help you. I'm showing you how to lend yourself a helping hand, how to pull yourself up with the bootstraps. But I'm giving you the boots and the shoe laces, but I can't put them on for you. All right, I can't put them on for you. We have been indoctrinated and surrounded by such a system as this, and most can't find their way out because this is the system we have inherited. So you only know what you know. And common sense is based upon your knowledge, what you know. See? Now you are being introduced to another reality and a different way of thinking. Our prior indoctrination and subjugation will not allow many to see another reality. In the midst of this confusion, there is division, confusion, which leads to insanity. That's why a lot of us need that therapy right now. You know, we going insane. Our kids are losing their way. Hey, something's not working. All right? You go to church, there's more fighting and disturbances and all that kind of stuff. Something's not working. Something's not working. All right? Judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. You know, wake up. You know, come on now. Let's look at things a little. Just spend a little time with me. Right? Confusion and division are special tools designed so that we can never get an understanding of a different reality in order to reach a different path of correction. Instead of correction, fighting against one another for the economic crumbs. That's why we are fighting against each other. That's what I'm saying. Take a pause. Let's quit fighting against one another. There's a different way to do this thing. Right? They create a scavenger. That's why they put it like in certain neighborhoods and redlined you and so forth. And then there's scarcity. Wait a minute. It's a different day right now. But we got to think different. You can't be thinking the same way. Just like technology innovates. Your mind needs to innovate as well. Right? Let me show you a different way. And the price is right. All you got to do is put your time in. We're going to talk about tithing. How you tithe into yourself. We're going to talk about his traditional history of tithing. But we're talking about tithing in this ministry, in yourself. The temple of inner peace and prosperity. Invest in yourself. Take 10% of your time, talents, and treasure and invest in yourself. Then you can invest in whatever you want to invest in. You know, then you create a legacy. So you're not tied to, you know, we're not losing generational wealth. That's the biggest problem that we have right now. And that's what it's designed to do. This is an emergency. And I have my niece program, Main Street Emergency Economic Stimulus Program. Now I can talk. A few weeks ago, the brother came in with the scam, right? Within 4 weeks, you had 8,000 black people and $33 million circulating through a scam. Like and share. This is a legitimate opportunity, but you got to put some work in. You got to invest in yourself, not somebody else gonna hustle you and beat you and cheat you. Confusion and division are special tools designed so that we can never get an understanding of a different reality in order to reach different paths of correction. You know what I'm saying? If you're not, and that's what the police brutality is all about. The keeping you poor, changing the economy, inflation rate is too high, so too many black people working, too many people minorities, so we're gonna lay you off. You can't think. When you're trying to survive, you can't think. See? So that's why I want you to, if you have a job, you got to think of it in a different, that's cash flow, that's like getting a loan. But the interest is your time. So quit looking at a job, oh, it's just a job. Every moment of your life should be designed to be prosperous. Use it as an opportunity to invest in your future self. Take it as an opportunity to take the insanity off, chill, go through the material, right? So you can empower yourself. Use that as a leverage, a stepping stone. Learn to be a minimalist. You ain't got to buy everything and you see and keep so your neighbor got something new or girlfriend. I got to have that. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. That's consumerism. That's what's killing us. Let me go through this. So in order to learn and grow, you got to have a piece of calm. Piece of calm in history. You know, nations that prosper, they have a period of calm. See? And that's why China was able to come. They went through a terrible colonialism period and with the British and so forth. But then when they got there, when they was able to close down their borders and had a period of calm, they were able to build. That's why they moved to the front of the line right now, because we still engaged as a nation in destructive behavior, destructive, divisive behavior. But you don't have to adopt that scenario within your own life, right? Explained differently, we are living upside down and we think it is right side up. This is where being hoodwinked and bamboozled from, our brother Malcolm comes into play. This is my attempt to remove the confusion of spiritual and economic life, which will lead to a better social political outlook for family, friends, and a larger community. See, our previous leadership talked about economics and so forth, us spending money together, but this is a program that actually shows you how it's done, right? And in addition to me showing you how it's done, I'm taking the time to show you why we need to do it. It's a no-brainer. But you got to humble yourself. You have to humble yourself and meditate so your spiritual channels can be opened up. Because this is what everybody wants. This is what you wanted. This is what the program I devised, because this is what you want. This is what we need as a community. Therefore, it is almost impossible to retrain and restructure the mind in order to reorganize our thought process. The brain has all but stopped working as an independent device used for reasoning and critical thinking in this consumer-driven, technologically driven society. You listen to what I'm saying? The parent cannot teach the child what it does not know. That's why this is a university in the home program. I got my 52-week wealth training workshop to train the boot camp series that trains the family, teach you how to raise powerful, brilliant, productive children that can compete in society. The parent cannot teach the child what it does not know. Many times I've seen brothers, they spend 15, 20, 30 years in prison. They want to get out and teach their son about business. The parent cannot teach the child what it does not know, except for the chaos it understands and refuses to cast aside because it's their only reality and truth. All of a sudden you get brothers or any individual coming out of prison, I want to change my life now. I want to help build back that which I helped destroy. Why does it take for you to be locked up and beat down and whatever done to you in order for you to change? That's why spirituality is so important. Raise up a child as they should go. Then we have a community that supports each other. We have an economic infrastructure so that way they ain't got to do stuff for money. All money ain't good money, as we can see right now. Money has this type of situation that's corrupted us and divided us as a people, individuals in our own household. We know that something is not right, but there is no easy way to separate themselves from the struggles of life. Therefore, the generational curse is born out of the abyss. I'm trying to show you a way to break out of that. Work together in teams. If you don't have the fortitude to do it yourself, get somebody else. Get some friends that you care about. And you guys build together. Young people in school, organize yourself around this material. Be the new, and the way the program is designed, so you can invest in your technology and in your IT, so we can have our own Silicon Valley. It's a funding mechanism, educational and funding mechanism. And when you get involved, you'll be supported. The system is set up to support you. But it's people driven. Because if you don't want it, I can't do nothing about that. On top of this, there is the economic system, which is not a part of our indoctrination process. True wealth. That's why you have wealth on one side and then a block away, just like the White House, right? I ain't never been there, but it's in the middle of the hood. You got the White House surrounded with poverty and despair. Something's wrong with that, right? And at a certain time, you guys like, wait a minute, these people ain't interested in my well-being, so I better be interested in my own well-being. You are only being groomed to become chattel property and workers that are merely livestock being consumed from birth to death, from the womb to the tomb, my friends. So we need to wake up. Trapped in the matrix without the ability or free will to escape, because we are driven by an economic system where you only get enough to survive, and therefore you are being driven by consumption. Wow, that's you understand? But are you listening to me? Are you listening to me? So, in order to escape, you must allow your mind to exist in a childlike state. In order to escape the chaos that we've been brought up in, you need to allow your mind to exist in a childlike state in order to find refuge in lies and deception, because it's your comfort zone that continually feeds your perceived and indoctrinated delusional state of existence. That's why we get caught up in mysticism and hocus pocus and stuff, because it keeps you from going crazy. But some people, it's not stopping from going crazy. It's overflowing now. Therapy. You're going to the same therapist, people that caused your insanity in the first place. That don't make sense. Be your own therapist. Be your own therapist. And we work together and support each other. That's the therapy. You go up because that means something's not right in your environment. Right? When all of our children are losing their mind, and in other community, they got some other kind of stuff going on right now with this. You know what it is. You've been watching the news and stuff. It hasn't contaminated our community that much. See, this is some other kind of stuff. That's why you can't get caught up in all this nonsense. You got to be able to separate yourself. See, these are an insanity. These are symptoms of so you have to look at yourself as a cosmic entity, right? There's some sickness in the body. It's like your regular body. It mimics nature, and in a large society, it all works the same way. It all works the same way. The laws are the same. So this state causing us to, being raised on fairy tales and mysticism and hocus pocus and waiting for somebody to save us. That's a childlike state of mind. And we hide and seek refuge in these lies and deception because it's our comfort zone. We want to set you free today, right? And it continuously feeds your perception and indoctrination and delusional state. That's where the Stockholm syndrome and the cognitive dissonance come into play, because you don't want to hear anything that's going to disrupt your insanity, your delusional state of mind. Anything that goes in odds with that you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear about it. And a strong mind should be able to have discourse about anything, especially if you believe in something. You should be able to have a strength and fortitude within yourself to have a discussion about that. Besides running and hiding and getting temperamental about it because somebody's saying something different than what your indoctrination says. That's a childlike state. The picture I paint is for the person or person who failed to prepare themselves to compete in life. And or suddenly you lose that once prosperous job you enjoyed, which provided your happiness and joy because you had income. See? The point is to capture a portion of this prosperity and learn how to build upon it for a sustainable future. So I digress for a little bit because everybody's not at the bottom. But if you're comfortable and you're living good, don't be a person say what I used to have. Learn how to take a portion of that and invest in your future self. Because there's going to be a time. Let me get ahead of myself. Like I said, the point is to capture a portion of this prosperity and learn how to build upon it for a sustainable future. Jobs are not property, and you do not own them. unless you have enough wisdom to use your skills and talents to start your own business along the way. You know, that'll solve a lot of the problems. The woman wants to go out there in corporate America and do her thing, you know, then the man who is at home, you know, have a family business, teach these kids things, use the 52-week wealth training workshop to teach them about business and economics, so that way when they graduate high school, they're ready to compete. They understand. They understand. Then the business can also supplement the income, and with the system that we're creating and stuff, you want to create a bucket to receive some of this wealth that we're going to be spending the rest. But it's based upon your participation in the process. So it's going to be a win-win situation. But it's not something that we have to wait 5-10 years to do. It's something that we need to do immediately. Immediately. Before we start voting on the next president, another case of illusion of inclusion. On top of this poor preparation to compete properly in a competitive world, the world and society changes continuously. We cannot work our way out of this. We cannot steal, kill, or destroy our way out of this system of despair and constant frustration. Right? Got to be smarter. We can't just do the basic stuff and think we're going to catch up and pull ourselves up. No, we got to be smarter. And this is a smarter and more brilliant system based on unity. All of us will have to become smarter and wiser and willing to discard destructive behavior, habits, and practices in order to learn a different approach to sustaining and creating new wealth when the economy shifts again and again. See, every time it shifts, we going way back further and further. See, this is intentional type behavior, and we're participating in the process. When they're spending millions of dollars bringing people from other countries instead of educating their own. There's no intention for you to be able to compete. The time will come when you can no longer work for money. So your money has to be in a position to work for you. In your working years, you have to set aside some of those consumer dollars in order to build an investment portfolio. And I discuss this in my Want to Be a Millionaire series. I go through the investment scenario, how to develop a portfolio. Plus some other treasures that through the process through my students that I'll be introducing to you. Called an instant estate plan, where you can inject $1,000 in addition to this program, you know, make sure you leave a legacy. See? The world has changed from when I was a child growing up during the civil rights era into a seasoned, it made me into a seasoned, well-rounded adult, molded and shaped from valuing education growing up, military service, the structure, discipline, training, college, corporate employment, part-time businesses to full employment. You know, that's why I have a saying like, wait a minute, sometimes you got to walk through the flames because the flames is purifying. It's painful. How much did I have to go through, man? How many doors that I had to knock down and just like, wait a minute, you know, I'm not here for that. You know, that's your problem. And for a person to be racist and to do nasty things to them, that taints their spirit. They're doing more harm to themselves than they're doing to you. See? Because they living with this. You living with it, but it's an insidious disease that's festering in their spirit. So you cannot allow another person's thought process to affect you. You are the temple of inner peace and prosperity. You came in this world by yourself, and there's requirements. You have a purpose. But at the end of the day, you're going to be judged on what you did by yourself as an individual. Did you contribute to society? Did you create a legacy? Did you treat your brothers and sisters with grace and mercy? Because now you asking for grace and mercy. So the same grace and mercy you showed your brothers and sisters will be the same grace and mercy used against you, used as a device against you at judgment. So these things, you're not here just for the sake of being here. That doesn't even make sense. But while you're here, don't be hoodwinked and bamboozled. Because guess what? You didn't come with an empty shell, you came with a brain. So you're expected to use it. As a result, I became refined as a part of society at a level most never will be exposed to, and therefore could never understand because it was never part of their reality and experience. See, I went through and I developed a different skill set, became a different person and different experiences that most people will never experience. Right? So it's difficult for you to understand. So, and so when you see people like back in the day, I'm working in the hood, and people, I go by driving, hey, easy money. I like, brother, one brother said, man, do you know, why you say easy money? It's because you chose not to develop yourself. You know what I'm saying? And what I had to do, study, hours of study and dedication for me to get to this point, wasn't nothing easy about that. That's where fake it till you make. We only look at the surface. We only look at the surface. We don't look at the substance. See? Faking it till you make it. So in order for a person like that to achieve this illusion, people fake it in order to make it appear that they have made it. See? This is where poverty becomes entrenched in the form of more debt and desperation to keep up and survive, using credit cards to pay for the necessities of life. These two different worlds are far apart, order versus chaos. And that brings up the point where a lot of people say, well, I don't want to go to college, even though this program right here, I address that issue. So price is not an issue. But as an example, people say, hey, I'm not going to go into debt going to college. It costs too much. Going to debt, going to college. I'm like, wait a minute. But you go into debt buying stuff, over consuming something that's not going to be there. But education is something that you can carry with you the rest of your life. Right? So you're going to be in debt no matter what you do. So at least be in debt by investing in yourself. I always tell people, hey man, the only person I bet on is me. Right? So now, in addition to that, you create two different individuals. That individual that refuses to humble themselves, because it's an attitude issue, really, that you don't want to listen to nobody else. So now, when you fail to educate yourself because you say, that's education is a scam, it's overrated. Have somebody actually tell me that. Actually, I wanted to know why a young person would actually say that, or a middle-aged person would say that. And one day I heard a comedian say, oh, education is a scam. See? But you develop into two different individuals. That person that doesn't get educated, doesn't entertain their mind, doesn't have a critical thinking process, that's one different person, right? And then the person who goes to school may be in debt, but that's a completely different individual. They become two different people. Two different people. From their mindset to their lifestyles and everything else. But anyway, I digress. The world I grew up in has completely changed, and when I go home, go visit Cleveland, Ohio, I can see how my childhood community environment is stuck in the past, thinking they're doing just fine, falling further and further behind because they can only see what is happening in their own separate reality of birth and decay, caught up in this vicious cycle. Poverty is a crime against yourself. If you have the ability to make different, especially if you have the ability to make different decisions and you fail to do so. Some countries are poor. There's nothing they can do about it. That's just the way it is. That's their lifestyle. But poor is relative. If I can keep a roof over my head and feed my family, you know what I'm saying? Even though it's drudgery, I mean, you know, and you're not destroying the environment in the process, is that really poverty? But living in this type of society, you know, if you fail, especially when other people come here and they prosper, they educate their kids, buying luxurious homes and all that kind of stuff, and you here and you still live in squalor and poverty, then that becomes a criminal behavior. Criminal behavior. It's, you know, not brilliant, and criminal behavior. Especially now, after this opportunity, this is such a great opportunity. Is going to be 40 years of knowledge and experience being compressed into 18 months for $40 a month. It's truly a blessing. Truly a blessing. The greatest blessing that you probably have in your life, because it's going to make your cup overflow. The reason I make this point is this. There is something called a foundation, such as when I was growing up, which prepared me to be groomed, molded, and transformed into the man that you see before you today. More importantly, I wanted a bright future, and I allowed myself to grow because I humbled myself and removed myself from a toxic, gloomy, and doom-ridden environment. See, most of it was due to fortunate circumstances that just happened to work out. I know that if I possessed this knowledge before leaving home, life would have been a lot better. At age 18, before your kids go, at least they're ready to go. They don't have to stay home. And I heard lately, women and young men saying when they turn 18, their parents told them they got to leave. Prepare your child to leave then. Don't just kick them out, right? You're not a bird in a nest, and all of a sudden, well, get out. And a lot of them, sometimes you see birds on the ground in the nest. They just kick them out. See, we have a thinking brain. Prepare your child to be competitive. And this information, that anything they do can be wrapped around. They just have a foundation. That whatever they want to do, at least they know how to do their budgeting process. They need to know how to live a prosperous life, know how to budget, know how to the road to wealth creation. See, when you know where you are and where you want to go, it makes a big difference in life. And then know how to get there. So if you are surrounded by people who don't possess the necessary skills to compete, no matter how great you are, but if you're surrounded by people who don't possess the necessary skills to compete, it causes you to leave the communities you love in order to seek better opportunities. In addition to that, if you're around people who don't have the skills to compete at a mental level that understand the necessity to compete, then you can't grow as well. You can't grow as well. See, and now there's fewer and fewer places where you can go where individuals are equally yoked and help each other to benefit and grow. And that's what this program is about. We want to cure that. So if you're surrounded by people who don't possess the necessary skills to compete, it causes you to leave the communities you love in order to seek better opportunities. This has caused a different set of problems when others you care about are not evolving as well, right? But it leaves a brain drain and a wealth drain in the community when people can't stay there because they're being robbed, house being robbed, they've been shot and murdered because they see you got something, they don't have it. That's a mental disease and defect. That's insanity. See, we have to cure that. We need to do that by working together. It takes a village, truly. However, it's time to give back and share. It's time for me to give back and share my life and professional experience, taking life's journey out of merely being that of just trial and error. And that's what I want to encourage the professionals out there to do. Once we get this basic economic foundation in our lives so we understand money, how to manage money, so we don't want anybody crying broke at the end of the day. We want to build and not being destroyed. See, well, we want professionals to come in and bring their talents. We want this to be a traditional university in your home program. Then once we get strong enough, we can link up with the black colleges and so forth, right? Because we should have a strong educational system, economic system within our community. There's 80 million of us, and we're beggars and paupers and haters against each other. It's time for us to give back. Some people say that you just got lucky. If you took care of your stuff and handled it, some people say you just got lucky. Easy money. But my definition of luck is where preparation in life prepares you to meet the opportunities as they arise. In other words, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. How many times even what is that? The brother that was a singer, jazz singer. Can't remember his name. He said, "Hey man, I was a 15-year overnight success." You get ready, stay ready. You ain't got to get ready. My goal is to help current and future generations to prepare themselves to live happy, fulfilling, and prosperous lives by reducing the number of mistakes a person makes along the way. Because one mistake, man, can mess you up, right? So we want to teach our young people, before they get to middle school, the importance of making proper decisions, right? And not have a poverty mindset. The greatest obstacles we face is our moral compass, poor attitude, lack of knowledge, and economics. As a child growing up, let me just share a little stuff with you. Just so parents and individuals could put a little framework together. See, tilling the soil of the mind, so we can discard some stuff, so we can put our fingers on certain things that allow us to evolve as individuals, right? The time is clicking away here. I'm trying to make it through here. I'm just have to break this down into another series. Now, when I was growing up, I went to church, like many of us, engaging in this pagan worship and blood rituals. A generational curse training the mind of the child to believe in superstition, mysticism, and deceit with little or no basis in reality. A bunny rabbit laying eggs. Being resurrected in 3 days when the calendar says 2. It says 3 days, but the calendar says it will happen in 2. Certain just blatant things in addition to other stuff that you learn if you participate in my Wednesday Empowerment Bible School. I later learned this to be the case. You evolve, you learn, see, which is harming many lives in our communities, causing mental problems and not being able to live in reality. That's why we have these mental problems. And if it worked, we'd be loving toward each other, not shooting each other, not arguing in church, not being able to get nothing done, not having no schools in the community, not having gentrification, right, and homelessness. It's not working. Every mind is not strong enough to handle such a deception, as we can see, which makes them no good in a competitive society. We're caught in a caste system. A caste system of poverty and oppression. They living good lives off of oppressing us, incarcerating us. Swimming pools and nice luxurious homes because you engaging in inappropriate behavior. In my opinion, this is a remnant of slavery that was taken with us, those who were enslaved when they left, which is still controlling and hindering their lives generation after slavery in it. That's a generational curse. They took their religion with them out of slavery. It's a generational curse. It's not producing fruit. It's not being presented to you in a way that empowers you versus enslaving you. And this is an empowerment ministry. The same scriptures, we just presented to you in a different perspective. Not to weaken you, but to strengthen you. In school, I valued education and took my grades seriously because my mother instilled this in my mind and our household. She would knock me upside the head if I didn't do it right. I'd do better. She had a nice hook and a backhand too. I didn't get the backhand. My brother got the backhand, right? But I got, I think I got a couple uppercuts. I was indoctrinated and slapped upside the head. I was indoctrinated to go to college, trade school, so I could find a job with a pension, and understood that at a job you could work until retirement, all in order to provide for your family. Suddenly, this script changed, right? But the thing about the military, if I had any other choice, I wouldn't have went to the military. But it turned out to be the best thing that I ever did. Right? But now you got to be pretty smart to get into the military because everything is technical. But the military gave me a trade, right? So when I got out of the military, I was able to use that trade to go to college. It's fun to take care of, start a family. So I was able to have some money, and I was able to work my way through college, and that gave me a lifting pedestal. So now I went and I started working. You'll see my biography. Go to the website. I got my brief biography there. And if you enroll in the course, I think there's a more detailed biography as well to give you an idea of what you have to go through in order to achieve certain things. Everybody's path is different, but at least I draw the line in the sand, so that way you know you have something to grasp onto, to understand, right? Suddenly the script changed and Wall Street began breaking up factories in order to sell it off in pieces and then transfer jobs overseas for lower wages and more profit. The American worker was abandoned along with the concept of working at a secure job until retirement. The drastic change in technology. All television programs were shut off at 12 o'clock midnight. Remember back in the day, all you hear this emblem there with just a sound. That's 12 o'clock, TV over. Now it's, man, you got so many programs, it's just unbelievable. Just like having too many clothes in a closet and not figuring out what to work versus, when you had none, you knew that's what you were wearing, right? Almost all stores were closed on Sundays. Our government has become more openly insidious toward its own citizenry, rapidly eroding our constitutional rights. We have seen how our own government war machine treats other countries, right? And how they treats us. And we've adapted that in our lives. We got wars going on in the community. We constantly have financial crises one after the other, from the Great Depression to Great Recessions. Right? I'm not talking about what the government did against our community. We're not talking about that. I have many other lectures where I discuss that. But we're just talking about some economic stuff that everybody can relate to. And then a $15,000 house 50 years ago is now worth over $500,000 in certain places like California. For example, making these homes unaffordable with even fewer jobs that pay enough that you can afford them at this new price. This is why passing on generational wealth is critically important. We're failing at that. We're getting an F. We're getting an F minus on passing wealth. Because you can do everything that you did to get that, but then you got to pass the baton off to the next generation, and they self-destruct. They self-destruct 99% of the time. And don't let it end up in probate. They fighting over something they ain't even had no participation in, and they spend it all and fighting over giving to the attorney. I ain't mad at them, but that don't make no sense. We have an enormous number of people now homeless, sleeping on the streets, caused by parents dying off, causing the loss of these homes because of the poor education and training of our parents, other than buying and selling for instant gratification. Scoop consumerism. We just know how to buy stuff. Got a big house. Oh, we bought a house. We got to buy it. But if there's some legal issues that come up, I had one guy calling me, right, about some guy stealing his property. Now, this is an educated brother, but they don't understand about finance and economics. See? And then you get in your own way, and it's even worse. See, we taught to buy stuff. But there's more to it than buying. Just buying, you got to maintain it, you got to keep it, you got to transfer it, you got to make sure nobody's stealing it from you. We just want to buy stuff, and then when things go wrong, we want to pay somebody to fix it for us. The collapse of the family unit is causing the destruction of the children, leading to excessive abortion rates, immoral behavior. No family structure means no value system. And of course, the excessive incarceration rate. Poverty leads to genocide of the mind, body, and soul. We engage in an act of self-destruction. Poor education and poverty is the root cause, problem of many of the ailments afflicting our communities, which can and must be corrected at the household level. So we got a University in Your Home program. It has to be corrected at the household level. But people first got to learn how to work together. That's the orientation. That's what the spiritual component is about. You got to be able to work together. You got to have purpose. You got to learn how to put together a plan so you can work together. You don't have to give up your individual self. That's whack. Do you still, but you got to be able to work together, come together, spend some time together. You need to spend some time with your children so they understand you care about them. You shouldn't have separate existences. Spend some time with your kids. Sit down, have a family night. That's what the 52-week wealth training workshop is built around. Family night. Building a budget. Going through the different 12-step series of wealth creation, accumulation, and preservation. Building a family and friends and community around this material so we can all get it. And if you go to a church and they're willing to adopt this material to educate instead of gleaning the field, putting stuff, investing back, have that form of people together so you can invest. But remember, the church system, the 501c3, which this is not, right? Even though I teach you how to make money and create, accumulate, and preservation. So based upon that, it's deductible, right? To help you make money and be more productive in society. But the churches and stuff, those are 501c3s, which means it's membership driven. So get together. These churches that are closing down anyway, take it over. Implement the program. It's a funding mechanism in the program. So now you're a blessing. You got a parish now. You can reach out. So when you evangelize, you can invest. You can put this program into every home. Praise God. Praise God. The collapse of the family union is causing the destruction of the children, leading to excessive abortion rates, immoral behavior. No family structure means no value system. And of course, the excessive incarceration. Single family homes, single parents. Can you use some more income? Can you use some help raising that young man, that young lady, so they can have a value system, so they can have a purpose in their life? You need to enroll in this program, enroll your family in this program. Poor education and poverty is the root cause. Poverty and ignorance with no legacy training causes gentrification because there is no economic infrastructure, which is the foundation of any community, any individual, any household, any community. All of a sudden, complete character of complete communities are gone. All of a sudden, somebody else living in your house. I got mine, you get yours. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine. And when I die, you worry about it. That's our attitude in the community. That's a destructive attitude. That's not a conqueror's attitude, right? Poverty is also a result of being overly materialistic. And poverty can also be a mindset. Both types of poverty can lead to your harm and exploitation because of the lack of having a proper foundation in one's life. Gentrification is the change in character of one's culturally thriving communities due to changes in social climate. The same economic opportunities your parents had with little or no education are drastically different now. It was a world of trial and error, mostly error, but they managed to make it through. But now, our children are at an even greater disadvantage. Prices are higher, and opportunities have all but disappeared for those without education or skills. Without marketable skills and without a good education, poverty is always knocking at the door, or it's already entrenched in your family structure and unit. You want to break out of that. This is a way to break out of that right away. Nationwide, there is a drug epidemic sweeping the nation, sponsored by our own government in one form or another. Either they deliver it to the community, or the licensed pharmacists or doctors and stuff are legalized drug pushers. See, so one form or another. We live in a country that is separate and drastically unequal in all aspects of society, especially in education. But they are not going to prepare you to compete against their children. Instead of understanding that as a nation, we the people compete together. That's why we're losing ground on the national stage. Because we have a deranged mindset, those in leadership, those in a dominant society. It's destructive and it's destroying our country. A house divided cannot stand. The world is united against America, while we sit back and do nothing of substantive value. We import technological jobs, while refuse to educate the millions of youth in our own country. A nation that allegedly spends $65,000 a year to incarcerate a person, when a college degree or training program is $35,000 per person per year at the best institution. It's insanity. This will create a societal asset. If you invest in a people, this creates an asset. That's why we're going downhill. This is a major waste of resources that would help sustain America. But racism and oppression is a cancer that will eventually kill this country if it is not cured. But we must provide the cure. And that's what will make this such an exciting time. See, because once they see you turn it around, everybody's going to want a part of it, right? So now millionaires become billionaires. See? We need a system that would allow us to heal and grow together. A ministry, a 21st century ministry. We learn from the past, we don't repeat the past, and we improve upon it, and we go into a different direction. Not failing to mention the continuing housing crisis and recurring bank failures and collapse of the American economy. Keeping in mind that this same irresponsible behavior is taking place in our homes as well, because this is the example the people see. However, we can't print our own money. I talked about that in series 1, chapter 1 of this series here on the economy. This is the recurring example of those in charge of the economy. Our household budgets, not having a clue and doing the same thing over and over again. Who's bailing us out? Is there an alternative to this economic role model? Of course there is. Just stay tuned. If you've been listening to my series, you already know. So you should be jumping from the lectures into the enrollment into the program. Everyone thinks that having more money will fix the problem. But is this really the problem? For example, the black community as a whole spends $1.3 trillion a year in other communities. Is money the problem? Or is it engaging in inappropriate behavior? Even the idea of making more money spikes the interest. Even the idea of making more money spikes the interest depending on what a person has to do in order to get in on the payout. The making of a Ponzi scheme, right? Remember that last scam I talked about, brothers coming in with the relief checks coming in and black people getting scammed, you know. Within 6 weeks, you had 8,000 black people, $32 million in circulating in this scam. The making of a Ponzi scheme. The easier it sounds, the easier it is to get the money. But if you ask a person to read or study and invest in their minds versus not having to do anything, most people are not interested in developing themselves for the long term and go for the scam instead. See, if I told you that blinking bulb there has an anointing, blessing properties and stuff, and you pay $2,500 for the bulb, then y'all be, man, the checks be flowing in. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying you got the magical, see if it's charged, the magical bulb, right? That glows and so forth, you know, and it has curing properties and stuff, and it make you it give you the money, but then you waste it because you don't know what to do with it, right? Hocus pocus, mysticism, easily scammed, because that's our mindset, to believe the unbelievable. The biggest Ponzi scheme or scam that we are unwittingly and forcibly caught up in is the American economy. Yes, it is a Ponzi scheme and predatory for various different reasons. However, the main reason is that it is a debt-driven consumerism, worthless consumer model. Remember they used to call it the worthless consumer. I haven't heard that in a while, but back when I was going, they used to call it the worthless consumer, right? Just eat, ain't no use just eating. But now they need a consumer to drive this economy. Debt-driven consumerism model that doesn't have enough actual liquidity to sustain it, and is an unsustainable business model. See, that's why both sections go together. See, so the economy runs out of money, just like in a Ponzi scheme where you run out of new people. In the economy, though, there is never enough money circulating for productive innovation, and credit by default is being used improperly for consumer-driven versus income-generating productive activities to close the liquidity gap. See, people will use credit in our communities and stuff to buy consumerism type stuff. You're not using credit to start a business, to generate a productive enterprise. But most Consumerism is buying goods and services. We're not producing anything. Our productivity is down. It's based upon it. And the stock market is driven by them investing in monetary instruments, not doing productive type things, innovative type things. See, it's a fraudulent scheme. No productivity. And once again, people mimic what they have been taught. The American economy is driven by consumer spending and debt. And so are too many of our households. The same thing. See? So we're in a trance. We're like in a tractor beam. And we got to somehow interrupt the tractor beam so we can get broken from this nonsense. So you take the time and study and become productive, you can have all these other things. But the world is being destroyed because we're wasteful people, using up all the resources, and they end up in landfills. As a parent, you may be doing fine, but your child has to learn to compete and prosper like you did. So if you're the person saying, oh, that stuff doesn't apply to me, I'm doing just fine in my bubble, your child has to be taught to compete as well. The American economy is a Ponzi scheme because the economy has more debt in society than real money in circulation. The money, that ain't money, that's the debt instrument. And it only has value because you believe it has value. A fiat monetary system based on a belief and faith in a system. Sounds familiar, just like religion. Two systems that only lead you on a path of destruction. Is this a mere coincidence? Both systems comprise a middleman who benefits from your misery and eventual destruction. Both systems prosper coming and going while you are left to your own devices to perish from the womb to the tomb. It just popped in my mind. You go to church, you get baptized, you die, they still gonna get paid. One way you get you coming and going, coming and going. See. Isn't it time we the people change the playbook? It should be obvious that we are being played. Hustle, scam, hoodwink, and bamboozle. Our lives are literally consumed by poor economic strategies and decision making from government level to the people level. In order to improve upon anything, you need to first understand how the current system works and how your behavior is contributing to the harm being experienced. I know people coming in, hire some people, they want to come in and change stuff. I'm like, wait a minute. You don't even know what the program is. You go to a company, want to be in 6 months, want to be the president. Learn the system first. Learn what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Or tell them to give them something, they start commenting before they read it. No, read it first, then comment. We will always want to put the cart before the horse. No patience. Everything immediate. Microwave. Put it in the microwave. Microwave mentality. Read over 15 minutes, you snoring. The brain is a muscle. Just like when you want to play sports and stuff. See? And that's another issue. I think I discussed in the first. In order to improve upon anything, you need to first understand how the current system works and how your behavior is contributing to the harm being experienced. So you have to contribute to this. The prison system, everything that goes on, you have to be a participator in the process. You have to participate. So we're participating in our own demise. We need a new business model, improving upon the shortcomings existing in our currently flawed social, political, and economic model. Why flawed? Just look at our communities, homes, individuals, families, and society, and the abortion rates. In some states, we're aborting more children than are being born. That's a problem. That's a problem. What is it because we have no economic infrastructure? We have poor economic infrastructure. We're not supporting one another. That's why. That's a symptom of a major problem. So we need an improved spiritual, social, political, and economic system that is beneficial to society as a whole and not predatory and oppressive in nature. See, if we want to be free, we have to act like it. If we want to stop the crime, we got to act like it. We want to stop the drive-by shootings in our neighborhood, we have to act like it. But it ain't going to happen. Can't expect the popo to come in and do it. They lose their jobs. They have no interest in reducing crime. They are trying to hire more people. And why are you conducting yourself in a way where we need police in our communities in the first place? Cause and effect. Cause and effect. If Black Lives Matter, let it matter throughout our whole community. And we should not be taking each other's lives. That's the last thing we need to be doing. We need an improved spiritual, social, political, and economic system that is beneficial to society as a whole and not predatory and oppressive in nature. A one-way transaction with no long-term benefits other than the middleman. That's what we engage right now, a one-way transaction. The only person in the middle benefits. You can't just look at yourself because you might just be doing fine. You got to look at the results. You got to look at the results. We have a medical system, the most expensive in the world. It's interested in making a profit than actually curing disease. After curing polio, they realized that the profit was in the treatment, not in the cure. Conspiracy theory, they would rather create a disease and then make money treating it. For example, our recent health crisis shutting down the world economy comes to mind. But were you prepared? Were you prepared? They all use the same playbook. Let's create a national hysteria and then take away more rights in the guise of national security. The carrot and the stick. Create a problem and then sell them the solution. Steal it, repackage it, and sell it back to them. Music, culture, and religion comes to mind. A social, political, and economic system that produces more harm than good for the poor, who are the easy victims. This is everyone who works. This includes everyone who works at a JOB. You know what I'm saying? What would you do now? You walk in there and all of a sudden you ain't got no job. I don't care how much you was getting paid. So you got to think about that. Do you have a plan? Do you have an exit strategy? See, that job doesn't belong to you. It's not your asset. But in the meantime, treat it like the loan that it is so you can use it to invest in your future. Almost done. Almost done. What is my point? You already should get it. What is evolution of the species? Evolution teaches us that a species, according to divine nature, will adapt and evolve to meet the changing conditions of their environment, which threatens their survival. Right? This is natural law. So when a species fails to evolve to meet the changing conditions of their environment, any species that fails to evolve as nature intended will eventually become extinct. Gentrification and homelessness is like running a species out of their habitat, which will eventually lead to their destruction and extinction. Now, if you are a thinking person, you're asking, how can you help yourself and your family to evolve because you want to thrive and not drop and blow away in the wind of an extinction event? So, how do you take back your power in order to change direction and restore yourselves in order to control your social, political, and economic destiny? First, you must break the chains that bind you. You got to break the chains that bind you. When we break the chains that bind us, then as we the people will be in a position to take back our power in order to change course and leave our children a better society and opt out a crash and burn society that is on an unsustainable path leading to destruction. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Always increasing the budget. Always increasing the budget. That's why we're in debt now. That's why we're not getting interest on our investments. Used to be able to get a decent rate of return on money market accounts and the stock market and savings account. They took all that away. because you're paying for them. That's one of the burdens they place, and inflation. That's just another form of taxation. Inflation. See? So they're taking more money out. All these investment apps now and stuff like this popping up, like candy. Oh, invest in here, invest in there. That's not a good investment strategy. See? They're taking more money out, taking more money. Greed. That's all it is. And we don't understand economic strategy, economic policy, and what's really happening, and how we can stop and control our own economic destiny as the 99% versus the 1%. How can the 1% control the 99%? That's totally against nature. As an urban economist, which I consider myself, got the background, urban economist, right? Let me once again introduce you to a 21st century ministry that will empower you and not take away your power, leaving you weak and distraught, seeking therapy. That's currently going on right now. Wake up, people. Wake up. This is a spiritual and economic empowerment movement that teaches you to thrive and prosper and not hide in humiliation. Not knowing the reason why. You're like, what's going on here, man? I don't know what's going on. You're feeling helpless. You don't have to be helpless anymore. But there's power in unity. There's power in unity. And getting the right education. A program of prosperity for the whole family and your friends. This is about being reborn through the renewing your mind. You talking about baptism? See, I'm reaching back to my Christian brothers and sisters. I want to reclaim you. I want to leave you there in bondage. We want to set the captives free, right? We want to take you and then give you a more powerful ministry, a more powerful version of Christianity, right? But there's some basic things that you just got to change based upon the scriptures that you have been misled and misdirected and misguided with all these years. Mama. This ministry cares and empowers you to address real life issues that face you in everyday life. Real life issues. Living life so you can have life more abundantly. And the afterlife will take care of itself because you will live according to the principles that's required of you. Right? Right now, the two don't match. That's why we're in despair. Learn how we can draw strength from those around us in order to rewrite our stories. We need you and our parents to empower the next generation of leaders while we are still here to see it. We're the most educated generation, but we're the most misguided and misdirected and dysfunctional. With more, we should be doing better, but we're not. Our wheels have fallen off. Let's put them back on by studying and learning how working together in the spirit of love, harmony, righteousness, and prosperity can benefit us all. Teamwork makes the dream work. What is the dream? Spiritual and economic unity. Dr. King, I have a dream. Right? I have a dream. Spiritual and economic unity. We can't wait for somebody to give that to us. We have to take it because it's what's our birthright and what we deserve. And it's a thinking man. It's evolution. It's evolution. If we can't work in harmony with what nature intended, then we are a dying species. And we've already lost our way. Take back your power and now learn to think about your and our condition. Learn to care. Learn empathy. If you don't care about it or think about it, then your life is in vain. Something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you. You're spiritually dead. Another reason that you need to jump ship and come to something that's going to empower you and enlighten you and reawaken your inner spirit. Because if you don't feel compassion for your brother and sister and have a desire and drive to better yourself, you're dead inside. You're a zombie. You must destroy idolatry in your hearts and minds and stop thinking in terms of just self. Let me show you how to prosper by helping yourself first and then reaching back and helping others. This is the only way we can avoid an extinction event. There is power in our unity when there is a plan of action. Boardwalk School of Economics is the right choice. Will you join this movement and become a blessing for your life and learn to create a legacy for your life as the scriptures and our survival require of us? This only makes sense. This makes too much sense. Like, share, listen to it again. Listen to the series. Everything is meant to be an ongoing therapy session, to be a blessing to your soul. Somebody sent a message out. What is a blessing? Anything that enhances you as an individual, make you more profitable as an individual. Not just somebody bless you. That's not doing nothing. Blessing you is offering a brother or sister this program, a hand up, something that's going to have a tangible effect in your life. That's a blessing. Something that's going to put some money in your pocket, that's going to empower you so you can pay your bills every month, right? So you can get out of debt, so you can raise your children to be powerful, competitive, knowledgeable, critical thinking individuals in society. That's a blessing. So let this ministry, this 21st century ministry, the Temple of Inner Peace and Prosperity, this 3-tier ministry in spirituality, university in your home, the creation, accumulation, preservation of wealth, and the business and legal department that will help you to thrive in society. Because you have a good foundation. You have a good foundation. Bless you, my dear brothers and sisters. Nothing but love. Nothing but love. Let's get this thing. This only makes sense. Go to the website. The website right here, I didn't have it up the whole time, powerthroughunity.org. For some reason it's not going up there. Powerthroughunity.org and boardwalklifeplan.com. Check it out. Spend some time. It's the right thing to do. Right thing to do. The time is right and the price is right. It should be an offer you can't refuse. Peace and blessings. Talk to you soon.
Zombie apocalypse.